Apocalypse Gaming.
So each rush, each coach gets given 5 action tokens. These are what you use to control your players and make them move around the pitch. You aren't playing any particular player. You're the coach on the sidelines in charge of the team, and you're directing what happens in each rush, which is your turn. Now you're given the 5 tokens, and each player can have a maximum of 2 action tokens spent upon them. You can get free actions, which we'll cover during the course of it, but at the very beginning, all we really need to know is you've got 5 action tokens. These can be spent on 5 separate players if you want, or you can spend 2 on one player, 2 on another, and 1 on a final player, but the maximum that can be spent on any player is 2 of your action tokens. At the start of the game, you also start with a pool of dice. You have your normal, everyday test dice, which do not run out and you can keep using. But you also have a special dice, which is called your coaching dice. This dice you can use at any time you feel, so long as you roll it with these other dice. So if you're going to be facing a really difficult test, or you're in the last rush and you need to score, maybe you'll spend your coaching dice. But once you've spent the coaching dice, it's burned, it's gone for the entire game. That's you, you've had your chance. So keep it and use it wisely. Now the mechanics of the game work upon the natural 6 rule. So if I roll all my dice there, if I score a natural 6 in any dice, I get to roll another d6, and that becomes another one. And if I keep rolling 6s, I can keep rolling again and again and again every time I roll a 6. So that 6 rolled, and then I rolled another one, and then I rolled another one. I can keep adding up and getting more and more successes. As we're talking about dice, it's probably worthwhile then covering also how targets work. With the target numbers in this system, instead of the target number going up and down, your dice pool goes up and down. So if I had a 3 dice test and I had a bonus, I would get an extra dice, or lose dice depending on the situation. So rather than target numbers shifting, they stay static, which means at all times you know what your target numbers are going to be depending on the test you're taking. And all that alters is your dice pool for the amount of successes you can possibly generate. So before we go to setting up the game and showing you how the actual game layout will look, it's important we understand some of the actions and how you can actually move your players around the pitch. So first thing we should probably look at is the most basic move that you're continually going to be doing, and that's called your run move. Now in the game you count hexes from the hex after the one you are in. So if I want to move this player, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, he would move run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Simple as that. Facings, however, are important in the game. You have what's called your threat hex, and that is basically the hex directly in front of you and the 2 hexes either side of that. So out of the 6 hexes round of you, the front 3 are the ones that you can put something on or cause something to happen in. It's also the direction that you can see in. So you can't see behind you, you can only see to the side or in front of you, or slightly to the side and in front of you. So taking this fella here, if I want to run him back again, I quite easily can. It doesn't cost anything in a run motion to turn, so I can immediately go, because you're running at a slower pace, you can immediately go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, depending on the way you want to get round the pitch. However, if I ran him back to here and I wanted to sprint, this is where facings become particularly important. So we have this striker here, and I'm going to show you how sprinting works. Sprinting allows you to move double your normal movement distance. So this fella can run 5, so by sprinting he effectively has 10 movement. But because facing's important, and because if you imagine him scalping along the pitch, it's harder to weave and dodge if you're at full tilt than it is if you're doing a normal run, because he's going flat out, and because of that it costs part of your movement to do turning. It's a 6-sided hex, because all hexes are, and it's going to cost me 1, it's going to cost me 2, and it's going to cost me 3 to turn. Then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So effectively he can move further, but he can't go just 10 hexes because the turning movements would affect that. So let's do them again, but we'll move them slightly differently. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, turning another hex, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that would be how the sprint would work. Each time you turn them, one facing costs 1 point, but on a run motion that doesn't count. It'd just be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then pick your final facing. Before you do any action in that hex, you must choose the facing that you finish on. So now that we've covered off running and sprinting, there's another important feature that you can add onto your run or to your sprint, and that is the dash movement. A dash is an extra hex, 2 or 3 hexes that you can try and grab at the end of your run, but you run the risk of ending up flat on your face. So a dash is a speed 1, 2, 3 test. And what that means is each time that you try to do an extra dash in that turn, it gets subsequently harder. You need 1 success, then 2 successes, then 3 successes. Now it's a 3 dice speed 1, 2, 3 test, so he gets 3 dice to perform the test. I'm demonstrating using a striker, and a striker gets a +1, so that's an extra dice. It's not a +1 to your target number, it's always in Dreadball a change in the quantity of dice. So he gets 4 dice to perform his action. So he's ran 5 squares down to here, and now he wants to try and grab an extra squares movement. So we roll 4 dice, and it's against the speed of the player. Speed of a human jack is 4, so he needs 1 4 to be a success. He's rolled 1 success and 2 successes, but he's also rolled 2 6s, so he gets to actually roll again. Both fails because he didn't meet the target number 4. He got his 2 successes and successfully dashed into the square. If he wants to try and grab another square, he can do so, but he now needs 2 successes rather than 1. So again, rolling the same quantity of dice, he rolls a 4, 3, 2, 1, meaning he's got 1 success, so he lands in the square he was running to on his face. You must tell the opposing player which hex you're trying to run to before you roll the dice. So, very simple, he is here, 1 success on a 3 dice, speed 1, 2, 3 to get to that hex. Striker gets his extra dice. There's a success, there's a success, there's a success. With a 6 he's got a reroll. Another 6, so he's got another reroll. Another 6, so he's got another reroll. So he's ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 successes. He only needed 1. Didn't need to do all those rerolls, and for speed during play you probably wouldn't, but as it happened it was useful showing you. So he made it to that hex. He wants to dash another hex. He's deciding he's wanting to dash to here, needs 2 dice. Choose your facing and tell him which hex you're going to. There's a success, that was 5 dice, should only have been 4. Sorry, we'll do that again. There's a success, and there's 2 fails, 3 fails, so he spills and he ends up on the deck. That's dashing.
Apocalypse Gaming.